Hello and welcome back to LJFC TV. My name is Mikey, I'm the head of girls football at the club, and with me today I've got...
Hi, I'm Brian. I'm in charge of our oldest junior team in the boys section, under 15s, and the first team manager of the men's, and coach of the year 2015-2016.
And I was coach of the year 2016-2017. And today we are just here to have a chat, asking each other questions back and forth, talking about our different areas that we work in at the club, maybe talking about some of our players, some of the other things that we do with the club and how we are as coaches as well. So it's just going to be a little bit of a back and forth between us.
So Mikey, before we get into the questions, I just thought if we could let everybody know, how did the club get into girls football?
Yeah, sure. So I actually did the first girls team that we had at the club. I met yourself and Ryan on a coaching course, Youth Module 1, I believe it was, and I was originally coaching at a different club on a Sunday. We just happened to get chatting on that course and found that we had similar kind of interests and beliefs in kind of how football should be run. And just from keeping in contact with Ryan, he mentioned that he was starting a new team on Saturdays, which would be girls football, girls only team, which is under 15s now. They started under 13s.
Yeah. And
they went in, they had a great first season, I think, considering that they started with a handful of girls that played in the team that you're now running when they were under 12s and under 11s. At under 13s they split, they joined with a group of girls that had never kicked a ball before. And we went in as a team brand new, playing teams that had 4 or 5 years experience on us, and in that first season they improved massively and they did great. And it was something that I think the success that the Lionesses have had, the England women's team, the growth in the women's games, stuff like the women's FA Cup final being on TV, there are games now on BBC, internationals are available so people can get more access to the girls' game. It's just something that the FA are pushing behind, and it felt like, well, this is something we really should get involved with. So we kind of had talks. Roy obviously came up with the idea of trying to expand the girls section, and he brought me in on that and said, look, would you be interested in kind of being in charge? So in a second year, we moved to 3 teams. We kept our under 13s, we moved up to under 14s. We started a brand new under 12s, which is the team I currently run, so I moved over to them. And we had a different coach come in for the under 14s, and we also started an under 10s. We moved to a little bit younger, and then they had another great year. What's been great about them is how we've been able to take girls that were under 8s playing at under 10s. So a girl playing up a couple of years because we didn't want to turn anyone away, and we wanted to make sure we offer football to everyone. And now the section's just growing. So those 3 teams have remained. We've added 2 more under 9s, and the plan is to expand further and further. What we want to do is almost match up alongside the boys setup. So for the boys setup, those who don't know, it's a team at every age group, at least one. Multiple teams at some age groups. We're one of the very, very few teams. I think there's only 1, possibly 2 others in the whole of the girls' league that has multiple teams at an age group. We've had 2 under 9 teams. Mm-hmm. And we want to get to that point where we can offer 2 under 9s, 2 under 10s, 2 under 8s, and as they get older and older, just bringing 1 or 2 new teams every year to the point that we've got multiple teams at every age group.
Monopolise the league.
Monopolise the league, but that's what we want to do, and I think the only way we've been able to expand as quick as we have, I mean, we're already as big as far as I'm aware as any other local girls setups. I mean, Coventry and Birmingham maybe not so, but locally. And that's in 3 years of only girls football. We're in our 3rd year, and it's because we have this football for all ethos and just accept players. You know, I've had girls that have come to train for us, and I'm not going to name names, but that they've been told no faces at other clubs and stuff like that, and it's just not what we're about. We bring girls in that accept everyone, and what great is how pleased I am with what the work the coaches are doing, because they've embraced that and they're really working hard to improve their girls. Mm-hmm. When I look at our under 9s, I mean, the under 11s are doing great, under 15s are great, but I look at the 2 under 9 teams, the work that those 4 coaches are doing, 2 in each team, it's just fantastic. When I see them on the training, they put so much work in, they have the kids out doing individual work with someone while they work with the others. They're so positive on the sidelines in games. They've got really good backings from their parents. They've built it up to a real good group environment, and it's fantastic to see. And it's great for the club that we're managing to get more of these girls in, and it kind of all starts now with our Wildcat Centre. So our Wildcat Centre, our first one ran last year, and that's what spread to the under 9 girls. And Wildcats is basically offering football to any girls from the age of 5 up to 11. We had a couple that came to the Wildcats kind of fed into the older girls as well, but we ran that section. From that we got 2 teams, and the Wildcats are just football for girls. You don't have to come and play for a team, you don't have to if you don't want to. We did get the 2 teams from them, but there was also plenty of girls that came just for the experience of playing football. But we're trying to offer more football to the younger age groups. Next year we're going to have more Wildcat. We have 2 Wildcat centres.
Okay.
One on a Saturday, one on a Sunday. So anyone that couldn't have made the Saturday last year, there's option there. So we're really trying to expand as much the girls' game as we can locally.
Do all clubs have Wildcat centres?
No, it's so the Wildcat Centre is an FA scheme. So certain clubs are selected in the area to deliver Wildcat Centres. So we get specific training. So I went on a training day to learn about some of the challenges of coaching girls football and things around that. And we get special resources, we get advertised on the FA website. So if there's someone were to go on the FA website and say, my daughter wants to put girls football in, if we're the nearest one by the postcode, we pop up as a Wildcat Centre, which is great. And yeah, I just think being able to offer more and more girls football to these younger age groups is great, because that's how we're going to get to the point where we've got 2 or 3 teams at each age group and match up alongside what the boys do. So Brian, my first question for you. Obviously we do not need to name names, but looking in your team at the moment with the under 15s, a lot of those in a couple of years' time will be old enough and able to play adult football that obviously you mentioned you already run. Do you look in that team and think there are players there that could go on and play for the first team and reserve team? And how long do you think till they be ready?
Yeah, 100%. There is a plan. I have a plan of action in my head in the development of these under 15s. There's definitely some players that I can see being ready to step into men's football, and it's scary to think that in 12 to 18 months time some of them actually will be eligible. I won't rush them into the men's game too early. Through playing myself, I've seen many 16-year-olds step into the game too early, and you come up against a player that's played in Sunday League football for 20 years, and to them chopping somebody down is a normal event on a Sunday morning with their hangover.
Yeah.
But the advantage I have is I get to see these players coming through from under 15s, under 16s, and then stepping into senior football. I'll be able to actually decide the right and correct time to bring them in. If I decide to bring one in 1 week, it wouldn't necessarily mean that they would come in and they're going to play for the senior team every week. It'd be very much of, you come in, see if it's the right time, drip feed them in, and then maybe bring them back to junior football. And then maybe bring another player through, different experiences for different players. They'll all develop at different ages. Mm-hmm. So some of them will be ready at 16. There's one player in particular in mind that wouldn't mind getting chopped down, I think, by like a 20-stone centre half, because I think he'd just get up and do it back to them.
Right.
But the game is becoming a lot more technical, and there's definitely a lot of technical players, I'd say, in my team that could really, really improve the men's setup, both in the reserves and even the first team. I touched on that I have a plan in mind, as well as bringing them into senior football. I would love the opportunity to think that we could try and keep the group together, build on that group, and maybe take them into youth football as well. So then they have the opportunity to play in youth football against other young players their age, but also actually then step into weekend football, whether that be Saturdays or Sundays, and express their talents there as well.
Yeah, I mean, I think I'm not as involved at all with the men's section and the older section as you are, but what's nice looking at it from my point of view when I look at the work the club's doing is you're the first age group really where they're kind of getting now to the point where they are almost mixing into one. So in the past, obviously your team are the oldest, so when they were under 14s or I think they was under 13s when the men's started about 2 or 3 years ago.
They were, yeah.
So at that point, the gap between the men's and the oldest age group at the club was significant. So there's probably not really that much thought about the actual how we're going to transition them in. Now it is getting realistic. You know, we're halfway through the season, so a couple of months left of the season. Then they go on to the next year under 15s, and then by the end of this time next year, like you say, realistically, you're going to be looking at implementing. So having those plans
of next season.
Yeah. So knowing that you've got those plans in place, I think is a good thing.
There's some that could play as early as September, October next season. Whether I'd bring them in that early would be a different thing, but we'll see.
We'll see.
So, Mikey, the first question I have for you is: you as a coach in charge of the girls section, do you see anything different in coaching the girls to coaching the boys?
Yeah, there are definitely differences in coaching the girls to coaching the boys. It's interesting because I was at a coaching meeting recently, and there was discussions around the differences from girls and boys in that sometimes. And I think one thing when I speak to the girl coaches is that I think the girl probably absorb information maybe a touch better than the boys. That's not necessarily to say it's any easier. You know, what you might find from boys is that they're more likely to be running around kicking the ball when you want them to be listening. With girls, they're probably more likely to maybe be looking up at things in the sky or various interactions that are going on around them, especially when I think of the younger ones. But when you do have the attention of the girls, a lot of times I feel like when you're trying to get a message out to them, they kind of really take their time to absorb it. I find sometimes, because I do coach a boys team as well, when you're with the boys, you'll try and get your message out there, you'll try and explain the drill, you'll try and explain what you're doing, and my thing has always been to try and ask at the end if everyone understands. And I always try and stress to the kids, don't say you understand if you don't get it. It's absolutely fine if you don't get it, but we can work on it. With the boys, they're coming to be so, everyone understand what we're doing, everyone understand why, or any questions or anything like that? Yeah, because they just want to get playing. And then they get playing and it doesn't quite go. The girls will always kind of stop and go, well, actually, what does this mean or what does that mean? And it's not just when you're explaining about sessions, it's also when you're talking to them about tactics, talking to them about the style of play that you want to play, trying to work them towards the reasons that you do things as well. You know, when I'm sure I've seen it from your team when I've helped you with the under 15s recently, you're very much around playing out from the back. I've tried to encourage that with my team, and because they're a little bit younger, especially in the girls, so I've got a lot of girls that have never played football before they come. I'm definitely trying to get them out of the habit of just kicking the ball when it comes to them. And a lot of time it's don't kick the ball, just take a touch. I'm really trying now to make sure they know why I want them to take a touch. They see the benefits of it. Because me just going take a touch just doesn't necessarily get them absorbing it. So, and I think they take that in a little bit better than the boys. But it's interesting. And the thing you'll find as well with girls is, obviously there are exceptions to this, but in boys football, because of the amount of opportunities for boys football in the area, with us, the amount of teams that we're doing, various other clubs, you know, there's lots of teams. There's plenty of opportunity for boys to play. So you wouldn't really, and from what I've seen, get to under 13s, under 14s, say, and bring in a new player that never before kicked a football.
Yeah.
I also think because of how football is encouraged maybe in school playgrounds, especially for boys to play with each other, in the opportunity for football is there so vast that you'll normally find that even if he's not played for a team, he's kicked a ball, he's done school team or school training or something of that nature. We're getting girls now in the under 15 girls team, the same age as your boys,
yep.
They're coming in after never kicking a ball and deciding that under 15s they want to pick up playing football. I get it in my under 13 girls, and it's probably due to the lack of opportunities locally, but because we're encouraging that now, it's coming through, they're getting more and more, but that makes another challenge for you as coaches, because you're going from, and I can think of my under 13s, I could name 3 or 4 girls that are very competent. You'll know a couple that played boys football in a team that you outrun a couple of years ago. And then I've got girls that literally, like I said, come in this season and never kicked a ball, or a little bit of training here or there.
Oh.
And trying to manage all of them is often one of the toughest bits. I don't think you would get that as much in boys, or from my experience you haven't.
With the comparison between boys and girls, Do you see a development speed difference between the two genders?
Um,
I don't want to make like a gender difference.
Yeah,
no. Question, have you seen?
Yeah, no, not really between the two genders. You know, you get, I think that's a kid by kid basis, really.
Yeah.
You'll get ones that develop quicker. I do think, like I said, about how the girls tend to take the information on a bit more. I do think the girls maybe have a potential to listen quicker, in the sense that I've never really had any girl players, from my experience, always revert back. They tend to come along with you on the ride when you're saying to them, we're going to do this, we're going to work on this.
Yep.
Where I have had experience of boys, not ones that play for me now, but boys that have played in the past, and you're saying, I want you to take a touch, I want you to take your time, don't worry about what happens, and they're just always revert straight. They just couldn't seem to get out of the habit of it, and I think that was, again, kind of taking that information on. The girls seem to take it a little bit better, so that maybe progresses more, but that's not to say there aren't boys that take the information in and progress just as well. Okay, now we're going to do a little bit of a fun challenge. We're going to do, well, we're called teammates, but for you it's our players. Mm-hmm. So you're going to be doing it for your under-15s.
Yep.
So we've got 5 categories, and we're going to go through them. So we're going to start off with the fastest player in your team.
I'm sure any of them watching would disagree or will have their own opinions, but I think fastest, I've got to go with Ethan. He is very fast, and he doesn't stop running.
Yeah. I know Ethan as well, so yeah, that doesn't surprise me. Bravest.
Oh, he's got the name Slabhead. He's going to put his head on everything, so I've got to say Slabhead.
Slabhead.
Or with
Actual
Josh,
name?
I guess Josh does throw himself into everything, so.
Okay, actual name of Slabhead. So.
Oh, Alex.
Okay. We've got most skillful.
Oh, there's a lot of skillful players. I'd say I'd have to go with Josh.
Okay.
Because he tries the most. Yeah, he probably tries the most skills, so there you go.
Okay. Hardest working.
Hardest working. Changing week on week. Do you know what? I would give it to Amapal. He never gives up, actually. He's probably the hardest working, I'd say.
Okay, and your final question, Joker of the group.
Ah, the Joker. Oh, it's a tough one. It could be any of them. Because the thing is, all of them go to school together apart from one of them. So they've all got their own inside jokes. It could
Close
be
a group.
Yeah, they're such a close. It could be any of them.
Okay.
It could be any of them.
Fair enough. We're going to switch it to me.
Yeah. Same question back to you.
Okay.
Your under 13s girls.
Yeah, under 13 girls.
So who would you say is your fastest player?
Fastest player. Well, the thing for me, if anyone that watches LJFC TV will know that this question's already been asked, because my captain Emma was interviewed, and these similar sort of questions went on there, so might have some clashes on the answers that she gave, but we'll see. So fastest, that's a hard choice because I've got some that when they get up to speed are really quick, but I say fastest, and slightly frustrating with how fast she is that she doesn't show it enough. But Ellie, when she gets up to speed, is really quick, and I'd love to see it more, her being built on her confidence to run with the ball, because if she could run with the ball even close to the speed that she runs without it, she'd be a threat to anybody, any defence with that.
Okay. Who's the bravest, toughest girl in the team?
It's probably only really one answer for that, which is Beth. Beth turns up to training in the middle of winter in short sleeve top and shorts, when I'm there in skins and various layers on, and I'll ask if she's okay, and she'll, yes, fine, which makes her probably harder and braver than most men that I've played with. But for getting that on the pitch, I've never seen her pull out of a tackle. I've never seen her just not try harder to win the ball. I've never seen her not be brave, put her head on a ball or anything like that. And she's also very brave in terms of she'll take a responsibility. So I have a little bit of issue the minute around goal kicks, and sometimes when we're under a bit of pressure, teams press really high on us and it's impossible to try and play out. Sometimes I'll say to her in that point, I need you to go and can we clear our lines a little bit? She'll always step up, and free kicks, penalties, stuff like that, she'll step up if the opportunity's there. So
most skillful.
Most skillful is, it's an interesting one for most skillful, because I don't really have many girls that pull out the skills. They're kind of like, they've got some really good passes and some really good direct runners that will take players on. For most skillful, I probably lean towards Freya R. Just for her ability to run with the ball. And she'll get the ball, and bear in mind, she normally plays centre half for me. She'll get the ball in defence and she can have free attacker closing her down. And rather not necessarily any fancy skill or drag back or trick, but she keeps the ball so close to her feet and she's good with both feet that she can just dart in between them. I've seen multiple times when she played for me, she got the ball at centre half and just ran it out, packed about 3 or 4 players. And it's great because I can encourage her to do that. And it's so nice having her. I mean, I've got her and Alcy as well, who is a really solid centre half. And what's great is when them two get the ball, I can just encourage them to go and run it up the pitch without any fear. It's not like, oh, let's start panicking because your last defender don't lose it. I just have no confidence that they won't lose it because they're both very good at that. But just lean towards Freya.
Okay. Hardest working?
Hardest working is, I would definitely say Sophie works very hard. She covers so much ground. She gets up and down the whole game. She came to us towards the end of last year, and she maybe needs to work on a little bit on when to make her runs, but she literally covers every blade of grass when I put her on. If we're playing a team where we need a little bit of energy, we might be a bit kind of that they're closing us down quick and we need to match that. She tends to be someone that I'll throw on because she works really hard. A second choice maybe would be Ruby. Ruby plays up front more often than not and has a tendency to maybe shut off when the ball isn't within a facility. But if it's within 10 yards of her, she's very good at just not giving up and working hard to win the ball back. She's very good at pressing the high up the pitch and win the ball back.
And then the last one was
the Joker.
The Joker, of course.
And I think you know who this is going to be. There's only really one answer for the Joker, and even Ryan behind the camera nodding his head, which is Fran. So Fran is another level. She is just, you know what, sometimes she's an absolute nightmare to coach because of how high energy is, and sometimes she's absolutely brilliant to be around and coach because of how high energy she is. But she's infectious for the other girls. They absolutely love having her around. She plays in a similar style. She's all energy and stuff like that. But I think we've seen it from the club has seen it. If he was at the awards last year when she actually got up under host, you can see what she's like and had to deal with that. And I know Ross, because she plays for a boys team as well, Ross has a similar respect for her. But I think she's brilliant. The only thing I'm glad about is that there wasn't a camera on me on that award night when it was revealed that Fran was going to be there as a host, because instantly I just thought, oh God, what is she going to ask me? What questions are going to come out of her mouth? So Fran for Joker was 100%.